welcome to the Paul White Show. As you can see, we're on location at one of our local lakes right here in the ICT, and I do have a guest today. My guest drove all the way from Oklahoma. We've been driving all night to get here, but we're going to tell you some tips on how to fish. We're going to introduce to you a new bait that he's got out on the market, and we're going to show you how to rig. Stay tuned, call a friend. We'll be right back after commercial. Welcome back to the Paul White Show. I do have a guest that I mentioned before the commercial break. CJ, welcome to the show.
Thank you,
Glad
Paul.
to have you. I know you stayed up probably all night driving to get here this morning.
A little bit.
We could inform everybody what's going on. What is going on at CJ's? You're going to show us how to rig today, and I see you bought some of your new bait with you and everything.
Yes, I got a new catfish rig here that I've been using to catch catfish. Also, you can catch crappie, anything you want to catch with it. Then also, I'm going to introduce you to a new bait, the Fusion. So first of all, we're going to talk about how to set this up, and that's going to be the first thing we're going to do. It's already rigged up, but I'm going to break it down and show you how to do it step by step.
Okay, this is a lot of people have said, man, how you going to fish with that float that long? But it is a very effective float.
That's right. It helps us to use it when the wind is blowing real hard. We can still see it. If you're using a little round float, the wind will just blow it on out the way. But by this being a longer float, it stays in the water and holds up. So what we're going to do, we're going to break this float down, and I'm going to show you how to rig it up, and then we're going to also throw it in the water and see how it stands up.
Okay.
So what we're going to do, we're going to start from the top. I'm going to cut off everything that you see here. We're going to start over, even the slip knot. That's your bobber stopper there. So that's what I'm finna get with now. Take my knife. I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to get a little line here. The first thing you do, you put on the bobber stopper. This is a pre-tied knot. It comes in a package just like this, and it's pre-tied. You don't have to do any tying, so you'll see here. You just take this and you slide the tube on your line. This is a 15-pound test. You pull the string off and you throw the tube away. You take these here and you cinch them down, both of them together, just like this, till you get it where you can slide it. You tighten that down and you test it. You slide it. That's tight. You want to be able to move this yourself, but you don't want it to move by itself. So once you get it like that, take a knife or a pair of scissors and you cut the extra string off, because this knot will go off inside your rod and also into your reel, so you can fish it at any depth. So what we're going to do, we're going to slide it up. I had a bead on here. This is my bead right here. I'm going to have to use it again. So I'm gonna clip it off. Take it, and that's the next thing goes on, is the bead. We have the bead right here. Slide the bead on first, just like that. That bead goes up and hits that knot, and then we take a float. We call this end the pretty end. We run that line through here and through there. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run that line just like this. And through the back. We're gonna slide it up like that. We need something to stand this up, because it doesn't lay down in the water. It stands up just like that. So what makes it stand up is a weight. This weight is a 3 ounce weight. It's an egg weight. It slides up and down the line, so it keeps the tension off of your line. When the fish hit it, he's able to take your bait instead of feeling the weight. We slide that on first, just like that. Now we need something to hold all of this on, because you're through. You just take a swivel, just a regular swivel here. We call it a barrel swivel. We tie this end on first. And I takes it like this, pull about that much slack, because I'm going to use this other leader line as well. So I just take it and I double loop it twice. Once, twice. I cinch that down to the swivel just like that. And then I take this extra line and run it right through there. Just like that. That holds everything on. Now all you need is your hook. So since we're gonna be fishing with punch bait today, we're gonna put on a treble hook. This is a number 4 treble hook. And I'm gonna use a different tie this time. I'm gonna run the line through the hook. I'm gonna get me some extra line. And I'm gonna twist this about 8 times. Just like that. And then I'm gonna run that string right through there, through that loop, and pull it back through this loop. Just like that. Supposed to wet it and cinch it down. Then you can cut this extra string off because you don't need that. Cut it about right there. And there you are. You ready. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you first how this stand up in the water. So when we was out here earlier, I kind of test that, and that water is about 3 foot deep. And when as you get on further out, it's about 4 foot deep. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slide this up and I'm gonna throw it out. But first of all, we're gonna go to a commercial, and after commercial, I'm gonna show you how this stands up in the water.
You got it. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Paul White Show. As you can see, we're on location at the ICT at a new lake with my guest CJ. Before the commercial break, he got his rig ready. Now he's going to show us how to cast this and how it'll work.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to set it up. As I talked about earlier, this water right here is probably about 3 or 4 foot deep. So we're gonna set this bobber stopper around about 3 or 4 foot deep. You see where it is. Now, if I throw this out, if I set it up too deep, it'll lay down. But if I set it just right, it's gonna stand up. So that's what we finna see. So I'm gonna just pitch it out here, and we're gonna watch it stand up. As you see, it stands up just right. Now, if I bring it in and the water's not deep enough, it'll lay down. Let's see. That water's still deep. So for it to lay down, this lets you know that you're all the way on the bottom. We're gonna raise this up. We raise that up to about 5 foot deep, and we see if the water that deep. You notice, didn't stand up. So that means you're on the bottom right there. And you're actually too deep for it to stand up. But we can bring it back in and set the bobber stopper again, set it back down. And so it's about 4 foot right there. So it's laying over, but it's not all the way up. So that lets you know right there, you're right on the bottom. So that water is 4 foot deep. So this cork not only is an indicator to show you how to catch fish, but it also tells you how deep the water is. And so you hear people all the time might say, oh, that water is 10 foot deep. Well, you know yourself, because you've been fishing out here, that water is not 10 foot deep. That water is only about 4 or 5 foot deep, because that cork is right on the bottom. So again, this is not only an indicator, but it's also a depth finder as well. So, and again, this is one way that we fish for catfish. We can also fish for crappie. I also have a small one that I use to fish for crappie, as well as bass, and anything you want to fish with. You can use this slip cork in any way. Also, we use it around the riffraff when the water when you're around a lot of rocks and stuff, it keeps you from getting hung up because you set it at a certain depth, and what it does, instead of you throwing out there on the bottom getting hung on the rocks, it floats along the edges and keep you from getting hung up. So this is one way that we enjoy fishing. Now I'm gonna actually dip it and show you how the punch bait stays on the hook. So that's what we're gonna do right now. This here is a shad punch bait. You just take any stick that you find, which I had this one already, and you take that treble hook and you insert it down off in there just like this. People have problems with their bait staying on the hook. You don't have problems with this here. Just put it in there and you pull it out at an angle. Look at that, how that stays on. If you want more bait on there, just push it back in there. And you can get a big old glob of bait. That's the way my wife liked to use it.
A lot of bait.
She liked a lot of bait. Look at that. I mean, it'll stay on there. So what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna take it over and I'm gonna throw it in the water, and then I'm gonna pull it out and let you see how it stays on. Let's do that. Now I know y'all want me to catch a fish, but I can't guarantee that right now. Now it's laying down, but it's right on the bottom. But I'm actually showing you how this bait stays on the hook. Now if it goes under, that'll be good. But I'm gonna bring it out and I'm gonna shake it a little bit and let you show you that this bait does stay on the hook in the water. Now let's bring it out. Would you look at that? That bait stays on that hook. So again, this is the way we fish for our catfish. You can catch channel cats and blues with this bait. And every once in a while you might get a flathead. But this is the way I fish for my catfish, this way right here. We call it slip floating with CJ's punch bait. So again, this is a special way to use it, and it's nothing like it. So we're gonna go to commercial again, and we'll come back in a minute.
Welcome back to the Paul White Show. I'm elated. I got my guest here today. Like I said earlier in the show, drove all the way in from Oklahoma. He's the owner of CJ's Bait, and we've been showing you how to use some of his bait, how to rig, which is a very important question. People always want to know how you rig, so he's showing you how to rig up and everything. So now, CJ, you try to trick us during the commercial break. What did you do during the commercial break?
Well, I was trying to catch a fish, but that commercial break wasn't long enough. But again, just to show you how good this bait stays on, it was in the water the whole time during the commercial, but this is it again. But what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna introduce you to some of the other baits that I have, and then also a new bait. This is a monster. This is one of my #1 sellers. You can pick all this bait up at P&P Bait Shop, there where Paul's at. Hopper is a new one, and let me put this down here. But it's got a different little color in it. It's a little green there.
A little grasshopper color.
Yeah, everybody asks me what's in it. It's still a secret, but it gives you the idea. Shad is one of my favorites. That's my wife's favorite. That's the only one she'll use. If I ain't got shad, she ain't going. So that's one of my favorite flavors out there. We got several others, but what I want to actually do is introduce you to this new one. This one here is called Fusion Bait. Why you say fusion? Well, it's a combination of two baits. I'm also going to introduce you to the Fusion hook. This is a single hook bait. You're able to use this with a single hook. So this is actually a circle hook. I'm gonna pull it out so we can see it, get one out. I'm not gonna dip this one, but I'll show you what it looks like, and it stays on the hook. The bait stays on the hook with this real good. This is actually a circle hook, a #4 circle hook with a spring. I add a little special something to it, but as you see, it stays on and holds on good. And the fish don't have no problem taking this. I have used it, I have tried it, and I'm not gonna come out with something that ain't gonna work. So when you see this, you'll like it. And that's what it is. It's a fusion, it's a new bait, and it's used for ones that can't use treble hooks sometimes. You got some states don't allow you to use treble hooks, especially up north. They do tournaments and things, and in their tournaments, they're not able to use a treble hook. So I was able to come out with this single hook here with this bait that you can use together, and you can fish them tournaments or some of them states that won't allow you to use a treble hook. And that treble hook we showed you earlier, that's these here. So that's the difference. Same color, but different hook. So this is my new bait fusion. So you can be able to, here in a moment, I have it on my website here in probably about 2 weeks. I have it on my website. And but Paul will have some at his shop at P&P. You'll be able to go over there and pick it up at any time. So that's my new bait. I wanted to introduce you, and I'm glad to be able to come on the show, Paul.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Also, when you're using, you mentioned the treble and the single hook. If they really hitting, it takes a little bit of time to take your treble hook out of a fish when you catch it with. If you're using a single, it's real easy to come out. I noticed you just take a pair of the fisherman pliers and just take that single hook right out of there.
Yeah, that's right.
It'll come right out.
I noticed myself that when I'm using this circle hook, a lot of times they don't swallow it like they swallow the treble hook.
Right.
So when they get that, they usually get in the lip. So sometimes I just take my hand and I'm able to pull it out. But if I don't, I have a pair of pliers that I can just pull it out, and it seems to work better. So that's one of the special things about it. You can get out of the fish mouth, and they don't swallow it like they swallow the treble hooks. And that's another thing that the people don't like. They don't like killing the fish, because sometimes they have to release them. You know, they can't keep them. So with this circle hook, you're able to keep it. You're able to release the fish, take it out their mouth, and still release the fish. But myself, I like eating them. So
I hear you.
yeah, that's the way I am. So I usually keep the fish anyway. But you know, sometimes you catch little ones and they too little, and then you're gonna throw them back. So, and you don't want them damaged. So, and this circle hook here keep you from damaging that fish there. So.
Another thing about your bait, it ages well. You can keep it from year to year if you buy this tub at the end of the season and wondering if it'll still be good next season when you start back to fishing with it.
And I do that. Sometimes I have people to call me about it. They say, "Is that bait still good?" And I say, "Well, did it dry up?" They said, "Well, it got a little dry." I have a enhancement oil that I have. I didn't bring it with me actually, but I have some that I got out there on the market. And if it gets a little dry from being setting for about 6 months, you can add a little oil to it and stir it up. But usually if you keep the lid on it, it usually is all right. And I mean, with this bait, the good thing about it is the longer you keep it, the better it gets. But we try not to keep it so long because we want to go out there and catch fish. One of the special things about it is I know that a lot of ones have pets around. So you want to make sure that you keep the bait from the pet. And also, when you get them hooks and they like that, because of the bait stays on so good, you want to make sure you cut that hook off, because you don't want that animal to get it, a dog or something. And just the other day, I had a guy to come in the shop, and he said, "Man, we had our dog got a hook because we didn't cut it off." So they was able to save dog and everything. But again, this is just a warning. Also, I had a lady call me yesterday, just yesterday, and she said, "Is anything wrong with that bait? Will that bait hurt my dog?" I had already knew what happened. The dog had already got into a bait. So no, it's nothing. Everything in this bait is natural, so it won't hurt the pets or nothing, but you just want to keep them away from it.
Right. My dog did get into my bucket and ate most of my bucket up. So
well, you know what we call them dogs? Lucky dogs.
Lucky dogs.
Yeah.
Okay, and your bait is good in cold weather too.
Yes, good in cold weather as well.
Right. So people asked me a lot about cold weather, if it's all right in cold weather, but it is all right in cold weather. Okay, we're going to give you a few of the fishing reports here and a few of the locations so you can go out and catch. For those people who fishing over at Crowley County Lake, the black crappie are good. They catching them up to 11 inches. Bluegills are fair, up to 7 inches. They fishing with small worms or other live near rocks and shoreline and the covers, so they're doing pretty good. El Dorado Reservoir, the last update on them, blue catfish was good, 17 to 28 inches, with some over 35 inches being reported. They was catching them at Windy Point on the west side between Boulder Bluff and Sailboat Cove. Boat anglers, they have been doing pretty good. They catching fish on fresh cut shad along the river channels in the upper half of the lake. That's at El Dorado Lake. Wipers over there are fair, 18 to 22 inches. They're catching them on crankbait along the rocky shore and the point areas with the winds or best. Anglers are also catching wipers, the sitting basin, the stilling basin they call it, as well as on jigs and stuff. White bass over El Dorado are good. They also catching white bass. White crappie is good. They are catching them over at El Dorado Lake. Harvey County East Lake, channel cat fishing is good, 1 to 4 pounds. Channel cat have been hitting prepared bait and cut bait. Try near the mouths of the creek is where they're catching them at. White crappie good, up to 12 inches. Look for crappie to begin spawning pretty soon within the next several days. Look for them near the shallow structure and everything. All right, well, that's a few of the fishing reports, so you need to go out and catch the fish. Take a child with you, show him how to rig like we taught you today, and keep a kid fishing. That's our industry. Thanks for watching the Paul White Show. We'll see you next week.